Before you scroll, understand this. What you are about to hear is not flattering and it is not comfortable, but if you've ever wondered why some men walk into a room and younger women notice them without trying, while others do everything right and remain invisible, this video will answer that question in a way you've never heard before. Most men are taught to look for obvious signs, compliments, smiles, attention, but attraction doesn't announce itself like that. It whispers. And those whispers are embedded in ordinary phrases you've probably heard before and ignored. The danger is not that women hide their interest. The danger is that men don't know how to listen. If you stay until the end, you'll realize that attraction has very little to do with looks, money, or lines. It has everything to do with your internal state, your emotional discipline, and the way you carry silence. You'll start to recognize moments you once dismissed, conversations you misread, and signals you never knew were signals at all. This isn't about learning what to say, it's about understanding what it means when she speaks. Because the men who truly stand out are not louder, flashier, or more aggressive. They are calmer, more grounded, and far more self-contained. And that difference changes everything. Watch carefully, not casually, because once you hear these phrases with the right understanding, you can't unhear them, and the way you show up in conversations will never be the same again. Most men misunderstand attraction because they listen only for compliments. They wait for obvious praise, direct flirting, or dramatic signals that announce desire clearly and loudly. But attraction, especially from younger women toward a man they genuinely find compelling, almost never arrives in that form. It comes quietly, it slips into language, it hides inside ordinary sentences that seem casual on the surface but are loaded with psychological meaning underneath. If you don't understand this, you will miss it entirely and walk away believing nothing happened. Attraction is not a performance, it's a response, and language is the first place where that response leaks out. When a woman is drawn to a man, her nervous system reacts before her logic does. She feels something before she understands it, and because of that, she rarely says, "I find you attractive." Instead, she speaks in ways that allow her to observe how you carry yourself without exposing herself emotionally. These phrases are not designed to impress you, they are designed to measure you. This is where most men fail. They treat words as literal information rather than emotional signals. They respond too quickly, explain too much, or try to steer the conversation toward validation. In doing so, they reveal insecurity and the attraction dissolves almost instantly. What she was testing for was not cleverness or charm, she was testing for emotional stability, self-awareness, and restraint. Consider why compliments are actually rare when attraction is real. A compliment places the speaker in a vulnerable position. It gives power to the other person. Younger women, especially emotionally intelligent ones, are cautious about giving that power too easily. Instead, they use neutral language with emotional undertones, language that sounds safe but carries risk, language that invites response without commitment. When she says something that seems ordinary, what she's really asking is, are you centered or are you seeking approval? Do you know who you are, or do you need me to confirm it? Your response answers those questions immediately. This is why attraction is often lost in the reply, not in the moment itself. A grounded man doesn't rush to define the interaction. He doesn't overinterpret or underreact. He allows the moment to breathe. His tone stays calm. His body language stays open. He understands that attraction doesn't need to be named to exist. In fact, naming it too early often kills it. There's a philosophical layer here that most people never consider. Desire grows in ambiguity. Certainty ends curiosity. When everything is explained, there's nothing left to explore, and attraction thrives on exploration. That's why the men who are most compelling are not the ones who try to win interactions, but the ones who allow space within them. Language, in this context, becomes a mirror, not a tool of persuasion, but a reflection of inner state. When a woman uses subtle phrasing, she's listening less to your words and more to the emotional energy behind them. Is there tension in your voice? Is there eagerness? Is there hesitation? Or is there quiet assurance? That quiet assurance is what most men don't cultivate because it requires internal work rather than external tactics. You cannot fake this. You cannot memorize lines and expect the same effect. The phrases she uses are only doors. What matters is who you are when you walk through them. If your identity is fragile, the door closes. If your identity is solid, the conversation deepens naturally. This is why men who are deeply grounded often seem effortlessly attractive without trying. They're not decoding language consciously, they're responding from a place of internal alignment. Their words are measured because their emotions are regulated. Their silence is comfortable because they are comfortable with themselves, and women feel that immediately. Younger women, in particular, are highly sensitive to incongruence. They can sense when a man is performing a role rather than embodying himself. That's why exaggerated confidence repels them while quiet certainty draws them in. The language they choose reflects that sensitivity. They are not trying to seduce you. They are checking whether you are safe to be intrigued by. If you think attraction starts with appearance, you're missing the deeper truth. Appearance opens the door. Language decides whether it stays open. And your relationship with language reveals your relationship with yourself. When you stop waiting for compliments, you stop outsourcing your confidence. When you stop chasing verbal validation, you begin to command respect without asking for it. And when you learn to listen beneath the words instead of reacting to them, you enter a different level of interaction altogether. At that level, conversations stop being exchanges of information and start becoming exchanges of presence. And presence is what attraction responds to most. So the next time a woman says something that sounds simple, don't rush to define it. Don't try to impress. Stay grounded, stay aware, let the moment unfold, because attraction doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself to the man who knows how to listen without needing to be seen. And once you understand that, you stop chasing signals and start becoming the kind of man they naturally reveal themselves to. When a younger woman looks at you and says, "You're actually very different," most men smile and move on, treating it like a vague compliment. But that sentence is not casual, and it is not accidental. It is one of the most revealing phrases a woman can use because it signals a shift in how she is categorizing you in her mind. She is no longer placing you in the familiar group of men she already understands. She is stepping back and reassessing, and that moment of reassessment is where attraction deepens or disappears. Different does not mean better in a superficial sense. It does not mean you dress unusually, speak more confidently, or behave in a quirky way. What she is responding to is a contrast in internal orientation. Most men operate from a place of seeking approval, seeking reassurance, seeking reactions. Their behavior is shaped by what they want to get from the interaction. When a woman says you are different, it means she cannot feel that hunger coming from you, and the absence of hunger creates intrigue. Psychologically, this matters because attraction is not about being consumed, it is about being invited. When you are not trying to extract something from her attention, she begins to lean toward you on her own. Your presence stops feeling like a demand and starts feeling like a space. And people are naturally drawn to spaces where they can breathe. What she is noticing, often without consciously realizing it, is that you are self-contained. You are not using the interaction to define yourself. Your posture, your pacing, your tone all suggest that you are already grounded before the conversation begins. That grounding is rare, and rarity creates value. Not because it is engineered, but because it is earned through internal stability. There is also a philosophical layer here that deserves attention. Being different is not about standing out. It is about standing still. In a world where most men are constantly adjusting themselves to be liked, the man who remains internally consistent becomes striking. He does not shift his values to fit the moment. He does not exaggerate or minimize himself to maintain interest. He is present as he is, and that presence communicates something powerful without words. When she says you are different, she is also testing you. She is watching how you respond to being singled out. Do you inflate? Do you seek clarification? Do you try to reinforce the difference by explaining yourself, or do you accept the statement calmly without needing to define it? Your reaction tells her whether your confidence is stable or performative. A man who truly stands apart does not rush to protect his image. He doesn't need to. He understands that his identity is not fragile, and that understanding creates a subtle authority that younger women find compelling, especially in contrast to men who are constantly proving themselves. There is another element hidden inside that phrase. When she says you are different, she is acknowledging uncertainty, and uncertainty is not fear in this context. It is curiosity. You are not immediately readable to her. She cannot predict your next move or emotional reaction, and that unpredictability, when paired with emotional control, is deeply attractive. But this only works if the unpredictability comes from depth, not chaos. A man who is inconsistent, reactive, or emotionally volatile is not perceived as different in an attractive way. He is perceived as unsafe. The difference she is responding to is coherence. Your actions align with your words. Your silence aligns with your presence. Your boundaries align with your self-respect. This is why age by itself is irrelevant. A younger man with inner stability can trigger the same response, and an older man without it will never hear those words spoken sincerely. What she is detecting is not experience, but integration. The sense that you have lived, learned, and settled into yourself rather than remaining in conflict with who you are. Most men attempt to manufacture difference through strategy. They change how they speak, how they text, how they behave. But real difference is not behavioral, it is internal. It comes from knowing what you value, what you tolerate, and what you walk away from without needing justification. That clarity shapes your energy long before you open your mouth, and women read energy faster than logic. When she senses that you are not seeking to be chosen, something shifts. She starts wondering whether she is being chosen. That reversal is subtle but profound. Attraction often emerges not when you try to impress, but when you stop positioning yourself as an option that needs evaluation. This is also where many men sabotage themselves. They hear you're different and try to live up to it. They begin performing the difference instead of embodying it. And the moment you perform, you collapse the very distinction that created attraction in the first place. The men who remain different are the ones who remain honest with themselves. They don't chase novelty for its own sake. They don't rebel against norms just to appear unique. They simply live according to their own standards, and those standards are non-negotiable. That is what creates separation, not arrogance, not mystery games, but quiet self-respect expressed consistently over time. So when you hear that phrase, don't cling to it, don't ask what it means. Let it stand, let it be incomplete, because the power of being different lies in not needing to explain yourself into belonging. And here is the reflection to carry with you. If you want to be perceived as different, stop trying to stand out. Build a life and an inner world so stable that you no longer need to be recognized to feel real. When you do that, difference stops being something you chase and becomes something others notice without knowing why. When a younger woman tells you, "I feel comfortable around you," many men misunderstand the weight of that sentence. They hear safety and assume neutrality. They hear comfort and assume familiarity. Some even dismiss it as the polite language of disinterest. But that interpretation comes from a shallow understanding of attraction. Comfort, in this context, is not the absence of desire, it is the presence of emotional authority. Comfort is what happens when her nervous system relaxes in your presence, and nothing relaxes a nervous system more deeply than encountering a man who is internally settled. Most people move through the world in a state of low-level tension. They are performing, adjusting, anticipating judgment, or managing insecurity. When a woman encounters a man who is not doing any of that, her body registers it before her mind can label it. Her breathing changes, her guard lowers, her thoughts slow, and what she calls comfort is actually regulation. You are not calming her because you are agreeable. You are calming her because you are grounded. This is where the distinction matters. Comfort is not being harmless. Comfort is being steady. There is a profound difference between a man who feels safe because he lacks presence and a man who feels safe because he has mastered it. One fades into the background, the other becomes a point of gravity. Psychologically, Comfort is tied to trust, but not the naive kind. It is the trust that forms when someone senses that you are not emotionally reactive, not volatile, not seeking to control the interaction. Your emotions are not spilling into the room. Your attention is present but not consuming. That balance is rare, and rarity creates attraction. This is why forced charm fails. A man who is constantly trying to be interesting keeps the nervous system on edge. There is pressure in his energy, even if his words are polite. The woman feels that pressure as something she must manage. And desire does not grow where someone feels responsible for another person's emotional state. When she says she feels comfortable around you, she is saying she does not feel responsible for you. She does not feel the need to entertain you, reassure you, or regulate you. And that freedom is deeply attractive. Philosophically, comfort emerges in the presence of self-sufficiency, not independence in the rigid sense, but emotional completeness. You are not using the interaction to fill a gap inside yourself. You are sharing space, not extracting validation. And that changes the entire dynamic. Many men confuse intensity with attraction. They believe sparks, tension, and drama are the signs they should look for. But intensity burns quickly. Comfort endures. Intensity excites the surface of the mind. Comfort reaches the deeper layers where attachment forms. This is especially true for younger women who have experienced emotional volatility disguised as passion. When they encounter calm strength, it feels unfamiliar but profoundly grounding. Comfort does not mean boredom. It means depth without chaos. It means conversation that flows without performance. Silence that doesn't need to be filled. Eye contact that is steady, not demanding. These signals tell her that you are not afraid of space, and anyone who is not afraid of space has spent time alone without losing themselves. There is also an important power dynamic embedded here. The man who creates comfort does not chase connection. He allows it. He does not rush intimacy. He lets it develop naturally, and that patience communicates confidence far more clearly than any declaration ever could. Younger women, in particular, are sensitive to emotional pacing. They notice when a man pushes the connection forward too quickly. It signals insecurity masked as enthusiasm. Comfort, on the other hand, signals restraint. And restraint is attractive because it suggests choice. You are not desperate for closeness. You are capable of it. This is where emotional authority becomes visible. Authority does not come from dominance or control. It comes from emotional regulation. When your mood is not easily shaken, when your reactions are proportionate, when your presence remains consistent regardless of external validation, people around you feel anchored. That anchoring effect is what she experiences as comfort. And here is the paradox many men miss. The more comfortable she feels, the more open she becomes to desire. Because desire requires safety to unfold, vulnerability does not emerge in tension, it emerges in trust. And trust is built when someone senses that you are not going to collapse, cling, or explode when emotions deepen. Comfort is also a mirror. If you are not comfortable with yourself, you cannot make someone else comfortable. Any attempt will feel artificial. True comfort comes from having confronted your own restlessness, your own need for approval, your own fear of being unseen. And those things no longer control you. Your presence becomes calming without effort. This is why comfort cannot be taught as a tactic. It is the byproduct of internal alignment. It reflects how you relate to yourself when no one is watching, your ability to sit in silence, your ability to hold boundaries without anger, your ability to walk away without resentment. When she says she feels comfortable around you, she is responding to all of that, even if she cannot articulate it. She is responding to the version of you that is no longer trying to prove worth. So don't dismiss that sentence. Don't downgrade it. Don't rush past it in search of something louder. Comfort is not the end of attraction. It is the foundation of lasting desire. And here is what you should reflect on. If you want to become the kind of man women feel comfortable around, Stop trying to be impressive and start becoming internally steady. Build a life where your peace is not dependent on attention, because the man who is at ease with himself becomes a place of ease for others. And from that place, attraction doesn't need to be chased. It arrives on its own. When a younger woman asks, "How old are you, really?" The question sounds simple, almost playful, but beneath it sits a moment of psychological recalibration. She is not verifying a number, she is reconciling a contradiction. What she is seeing in front of her does not align with the mental model she usually associates with age. And that gap between expectation and reality is where attraction sharpens. Age by itself is neutral. It carries no inherent power. What gives age weight is how it has been metabolized. Some men grow older without growing deeper. Others grow quieter, clearer, and more precise with time. When she asks that question, she is sensing that your age is not dragging behind you as history, but standing beside you as presence. Younger women are not drawn to age. They are drawn to orientation. They are drawn to men who seem internally organized, who move through the world with coherence rather than urgency. Most men reveal their psychological age long before they reveal their actual one. It shows in how quickly they react, how much they explain, how desperately they seek to be understood. When those traits are absent, confusion arises, and confusion, when it feels safe, turns into curiosity. That question often emerges after a moment of pause. She has noticed something. The way you listen without interrupting, the way you don't rush to fill silence, the way your opinions are formed but not rigid. None of this aligns with the stereotype she holds about men of a certain age, and so she asks, not to categorize you, but to orient herself. There is also a deeper emotional layer at work. Many younger women have experienced men who are chronologically older but psychologically adolescent. Men who use age as authority without earning wisdom. Men who lean on experience as entitlement rather than insight. When she encounters someone whose age carries calm rather than ego, the contrast is striking. This is why maturity is not about seriousness, it is about proportion, knowing what deserves energy and what does not, knowing when to engage and when to let something pass. A man who is matured does not argue for dominance. He does not need to win conversations. His sense of self is not threatened by disagreement. That emotional economy is rare, and rarity draws attention. Philosophically, maturity is the alignment of time and meaning. You have lived long enough to recognize patterns, but not so rigidly that you mistake patterns for destiny. You are informed by experience, not imprisoned by it. That balance gives your presence a grounded elasticity. You are stable but not static. When she asks about your age, she is also testing whether you are trapped in it. Some men wear age like armor, using it to justify bitterness, rigidity, or superiority. Others deny it, chasing youth through aesthetics and behavior. Neither is attractive. What is attractive is integration, the ability to carry age without apology and without performance. This is where many men misunderstand the appeal of being old. It is not about authority over younger women. It is about authority over oneself. The man who has learned to regulate his impulses, who has made peace with his past, who does not carry unresolved anger into the present, communicates safety and depth without saying a word. Younger women are acutely sensitive to emotional residue. They can feel when a man is carrying unresolved conflicts, even if he presents himself confidently. Emotional clutter creates noise, and noise erodes attraction. When your age reflects clarity rather than accumulation, the silence around you becomes noticeable. That question, "How old are you, really?" often carries a second, unspoken inquiry. Are you as centered as you seem? Or is this composure a surface act? She is listening to how you answer, but more importantly, she is observing how you hold yourself while answering. Do you boast? Do you deflect? Do you joke to escape the moment? Or do you respond with ease as someone who is not negotiating with time? The most compelling response is not verbal, it is embodied. It is the absence of defensiveness. It is the comfort with reality as it is. When a man is at ease with his age, it signals that he is at ease with himself. And self-acceptance is one of the most attractive traits a person can possess. This is also why age becomes unattractive when it is used as leverage. The moment a man implies that his years entitle him to attention, desire evaporates. Attraction is not owed, it is invited, and invitations only work when they are extended from a place of equality, not superiority. Younger women who are emotionally intelligent are not looking to be guided by age. They are looking to be met by presence. They want to feel that the man across from them has done the work of understanding himself, that he does not project his unfulfilled ambitions onto them, that he does not seek youth as a remedy for regret. Age becomes attractive when it carries self-responsibility, when it reflects a man who has learned from mistakes without being defined by them, who has ambition without restlessness, desire without hunger, confidence without arrogance. This is why the question often lingers after it is asked. She is not just listening to your answer, she is feeling the coherence of your life through the way you inhabit that answer. And if what she senses aligns, something shifts, respect deepens, attraction stabilizes. So don't fear that question, and don't try to manipulate it. Let your age speak through your calm, your boundaries, and your emotional discipline, because the goal is not to appear younger, it is to appear whole. And here is the reflection to leave with. If you want your age to work in your favor, stop thinking of it as a number and start treating it as evidence. Evidence of self-mastery, self-knowledge, and self-restraint. Because when age is worn lightly and lived deeply, it doesn't distance you from desire, it anchors you within it. When a younger woman says, "Well, I don't usually talk like this," she is not commenting on the conversation, she is revealing a shift in her internal state. That sentence is a quiet confession, and it only emerges in the presence of a man who is not trying to pull something out of her. It appears when she feels unpressured, unjudged, and unmanipulated, and that is why it matters so much. Most men believe attraction is about saying the right things, but the deepest moments of attraction are created by what you don't say and what you don't demand. Silence, when it is grounded, becomes permission. It tells her that she does not need to perform, impress, or protect herself emotionally. And when that pressure disappears, authenticity rises to the surface. This is where silent confidence becomes visible. Silent confidence is not withdrawal. It is not indifference. It is presence without insistence. You are engaged, but you are not steering. You are listening, but you are not probing. Your attention is steady, not consuming, and that steadiness communicates a powerful message. You are not dependent on this interaction to feel complete. Psychologically, this is disarming. Many women are accustomed to managing men's expectations. They sense when a man wants something from them, even if he never states it directly. Desire has a texture, need has a weight. When neither is present, something unexpected happens. She feels free to explore her own thoughts aloud. That's why the phrase comes out almost unconsciously. "I don't usually talk like this, As her noticing herself opening up. She didn't plan to. It wasn't strategic. It happened because the environment allowed it. And you created that environment not by technique, but by restraint. There is a philosophical truth here that most people miss. Vulnerability does not arise in pursuit. It arises in safety, and safety is created by emotional self-sufficiency. When a man is not seeking validation, he becomes a container rather than a consumer. He can hold what is shared without rushing to interpret, fix, or claim it. This is what separates emotional presence from emotional hunger. A hungry man listens with an agenda. A present man listens with curiosity. One tightens the interaction. The other expands it. When she feels that expansion, she begins to share more than she intended, not because she is losing control, but because she is gaining trust in herself within the interaction. Silent confidence also removes the need for impression management. You are not trying to be impressive, so she doesn't feel evaluated. You are not trying to be chosen, so she doesn't feel pressured to decide. That absence of pressure allows her to show up as she is, not as she thinks she should be. And this is where attraction deepens beyond the surface. Confessions are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are subtle admissions of thought, fear, desire, or uncertainty, but they are significant because they mark a transition from social interaction to personal connection. That transition does not happen through cleverness. It happens through emotional steadiness. Many men mistake silence for weakness. They rush to fill gaps, fearing loss of momentum. But silence, when it is comfortable, communicates self-trust. It says, I don't need to control this moment for it to be meaningful. And that is profoundly attractive. There is also a power dynamic at play. The man who does not rush intimacy is the man who controls its pace, not through dominance but through patience, and patience signals choice. You are choosing to be present, not clinging to the interaction as your only opportunity for connection. Younger women, especially those who are emotionally perceptive, recognize this immediately. They feel when a man is comfortable with uncertainty, and comfort with uncertainty is a sign of maturity. It suggests that you have faced ambiguity in life and survived it without becoming rigid or desperate. This is why confessions feel safe around you. You are not startled by complexity. You are not threatened by depth. You don't panic when emotions surface. Your internal world has enough space to accommodate someone else's. And here is the key insight. When a woman opens up in this way, it is not because you extracted vulnerability. It is because you allowed it. You didn't pull the door open. You stood still long enough for her to walk through it on her own. That distinction matters. One creates resistance, the other creates trust. Silent confidence also protects you. It keeps you from over-investing too early. It allows you to observe without attachment, to respond without urgency, to remain grounded even as connection deepens. And that grounding ensures that attraction grows organically rather than explosively. This is not about playing hard to get. It is about being whole enough not to grasp. When you are internally complete, you don't need to rush emotional intimacy. You respect its timing, and respect is felt at a nervous system level. When she says, I don't usually talk like this, she is not asking for reassurance. She is recognizing a shift. And the most powerful response is not to comment on it, but to remain exactly as you are, calm, attentive, unchanged, because the moment you try to capitalize on it, you collapse it. True confidence does not spike when things go well. It remains level, and that consistency is what allows attraction to stabilize rather than burn out. So here is what to reflect on. If you want women to open up around you, stop trying to make something happen. Cultivate an inner life that is steady, curious, and self-contained. Learn to sit with silence without anxiety. Learn to listen without strategy, because the man who does not chase emotional reactions becomes the man others feel safe revealing themselves to. And when that happens, attraction stops being something you pursue and becomes something that unfolds naturally in your presence.